Hello everybody, hope you're doing really well. Today we're going to do a brief little story for you, but it's a story that I really like because it incorporates history and the paranormal all in one. So today we're in Eridge, or Eridge, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I sometimes swap between either. I've heard it being said either way as well. So for the small amount of people who live in Eridge or Eridge, I apologise to you for my potential mispronunciation. Just to lay this in context, we're in the border of East Sussex into Kent, so Tunbridge Wells is literally the next significant sort of like journey for us if we were to go into Kent. And all around us is basically loads and loads of the Ardennine sandstone outcrop, which I've covered on many a video, and also some World War II history, which as a recording this we haven't covered fully yet, but we will do at some point. However, in the paranormal tale today, standing behind us is Eridge Village Hall, and literally adjacent, pretty much behind me on this side, are still some old converted barns that got converted into cottages, and they were actual barns as well. And the story goes that there was a maid who was living in one of these barns or cottages. It's kind of either really, and it overlooks the Eridge Park estate, which is behind these buildings, and it's huge really. In fact, it's a good little walk if you can get around some of this, and it's beautiful because it's on that border of East Sussex Kent, which I always say is a beautiful bits of countryside when you can access it really. So the story goes that this maid became pregnant by, we assume, probably a wealthy landowner or someone significant, and as per usual, this person didn't want anything to do with it, so she became pregnant and obviously didn't know what to do. So sadly, she hung herself in one of the cottages, one of the barns that are literally behind me here. Like I say, it's kind of weird now because most of them have been converted into normal standard cottages, houses now. And it's still said that in one of these, her moans and groans can be heard, and her screams as she was about to hang herself. There was notation of seeing mist-like woman walking across this section here on a dark night. But more significantly, it's the sounds, it's these moans, it's these screams. More importantly, it was actually one of the most prominent bits of tale. So there you go. If you came down here on a dark night and you heard those moans and screams, it's probably the maid who had unfortunately hung herself because of her unfortunate pregnancy that the landowner didn't want. What I like about this is obviously the fact that historically those buildings that are behind me obviously do exist, and they're literally right there, as I've said. And the other important thing that I really like about this is the fact that it is one of those typical sort of paranormal stories which, whether it's true or not, the buildings themselves provide that historical accuracy to validate really. And it's such a small story for obviously such a small village really, but for me, I really like those types of stories because it just incorporates that. We've heard a lot through folklore and spiritualness that you do get a lot of these sort of like tales of women, maids becoming pregnant by either priests or rich wealthy landowners, and all of a sudden they disown the maid or they disown the servant, and so they don't know what to do, whether they have the baby or not, so they decide to kill themselves or they get killed. So this isn't an uncommon story, but for me, just a beautiful sort of tale for a paranormal sort of spectrum for this channel, just because it incorporates everything. This is the only tale that is around this area, so for me it's worthy of documenting it and keeping hold of it for historical presentation. Anyway, hopefully you really like that. Any more words of Phoenix history, thank you so much for coming along with me. Take care everybody, and I'll see y'all very soon. Ready? Cut out.